Hi there guys, Vino here and welcome to this Vino Plonk production and welcome to this, as you can probably tell, slightly different setup. So in this video I want to try something a little bit different, do a bit of a different setup, and there's a reason you are looking at my TV screen right now and is related to something connected to my TV screen. So last week was kind of bonkers, so many of you may have seen that DVD update that I did. There's still 2 more DVD updates to go, plus there's a bit of an anime slash manga update to come on Akira essentially, and there are a few other videos to come, but I wanted to do this video first because this was what primarily happened last week. I do have a couple of vlogs that I may upload relating to what happened here. I may not upload them, I may upload them depending on how I feel. But long story short, the reason why you're looking at my TV screen right now is I now have a PS5, as I actually do something on the PS5 itself. I now have a PS5, and the reason behind getting it was multitudinal basically. So as I'm sure many of you realise, being a gamer, being a tech nerd, being a geek, whatever you want to call it, I've wanted a PS5 quite some time. Now, back in February, and it's actually underneath these cloths here, I do have a Series S. I've had a Series S for nearly 5 months now, and I love this Series S to bits. I sold my Xbox One X last year at some point because basically funds got rather limited at one point, so I sold that and deeply regretted doing it. Although Game Pass is now on PC, it's not quite the same as it is on console. Now, one of the hold-ups getting the X or the S, especially the S for that matter, is its storage. The storage isn't brilliant. I've bulked out my Xbox One S storage with this external caddy here that has a 250 gig SSD inside it, connected up via USB 3, and that allows the Xbox basically to use that almost like it's an internal drive, but it is an external drive. For any Xbox Series S or X games, you do need to install them natively on the actual, internal drive of the Xbox One S or X, otherwise it doesn't run. Basically, you can store it on the other drive, but you need to transfer it to there otherwise. Long story short, one of the reasons why I was so apprehensive about going for an S is its size. Basically, I still got a 1080p screen, so I don't need an X for the 4K aspect of it. When Microsoft went ahead and announced that Xbox Cloud, or xCloud, whatever they now call it, is coming to the consoles of the Series S and the X, I was like, well, at that point, I might as well go for it. Also, the lack of the disk drive is something that does irritate me on occasions, but there are rumours that Microsoft are working supposedly on a disk drive for the Xbox Series S, so if that's in the pipeline, then hopefully I can get access to a disk drive at some point and play some disc-based games. Because, to be frankly honest with you, digital is not the cheapest way to go, unless of course I do a Game Pass, but that's beside the point. So the fact I can play everything in the cloud on there and only will have stored on there what I really want to have stored, I've been loving the Series S. Don't get me wrong, I've loved my PS4 Pro for a very long time. I had it for years, loved it when I upgraded from the standard PS4, I had this Slim actually, and upgraded to the PS4 Pro. Absolutely loved it. The Sony side of things has always been my preferred way to play. Obviously, because I had a next-gen Xbox system or Microsoft system, I've been sort of favouring that and favouring the PC. So there were many reasons as to why I ended up getting a PS5. One of the reasons was, again, funds became a little bit short. I was due to do something over the weekend, couldn't afford to do that, and it was going to cause some issues. So I decided to go ahead and sell a few bits in order to pay for the PlayStation 5. I did sell my PS4, that's one of the things I did sell, probably obvious. I'm not going to say what else I sold, but I sold something else along with my PS4, and then I got this off of Gumtree, which is basically the UK equivalent of Craigslist, although I do know that other territories in the world do have Gumtree, such as Canada, I think, have Gumtree. But yeah, other places do have Gumtree, but it's basically our version of Craigslist. So what basically happened, I took the two items down to CX, which is a pawn shop here in the UK. Literally got there 5 minutes after they opened at 9:05 in the morning. And got there, they had to do testing on any electrical item. Got in there, got it all sorted, had the money, went straight to game, and they literally sold out of the last PS5 that I could personally afford at that point, which was a little annoying. However, throughout the day, I was messaging people on Facebook Marketplace, was getting no catches, and then finally I saw an advert on Gumtree, replied to the ad, the person replied very quickly, and £400 later, I now have a PS5. It came with the PS5 itself, two controllers and a game. I've sold one of the controllers off on Facebook Marketplace myself yesterday to get me a bit of extra cash for this week because I'm off work this week. And yeah, I'm now the proud owner of a PS5. And when I say proud owner, I really do mean the PS5 is such a step up from the PS4. The main thing for me to do with the PS5 is this menu. This menu is leaps and bounds ahead of anything that the PS4 did. I don't know whether they are at some point going to transpose this menu onto the PS4 at any moment in time, but this menu is so much more modern, I would say, and it's so smooth. Switching between apps, switching between games, switching between menus, this thing does not stutter. I mean, it has a bloody AMD Zen 2 in there. If you don't know what a Zen 2 is, it's like corporate level processor, like server level processor stuff. Plus it has a custom GPU in there. But this thing absolutely flies. I was actually playing some No Man's Sky on my, you can probably hear it in the background, so I do apologise if that gets a little annoying. I am actually going to turn my sound off of my stereo system, as it's going to distract me. But I was playing some No Man's Sky on my PlayStation 4 just before I packed it all up to go and sell it to get the PS5, and the wait times, the loading times on it were, in comparison, really bad. The loading times on this are next to nothing. You play a game like FIFA 22, I do know that EA kind of do they knew a bit about the hardware they're working on. If you play a game like FIFA 22, I don't know if there are any loading times. The only loading times that I know of is when the game first is booting up and going through the boot up sequence of the game, so to speak, the launch sequence, and you get the little EA logo down there and it boots up that way. But as soon as it's connected to the internet, as soon as you're in, there's barely any load times. Death Stranding. There it is. Death Stranding, another game that I've really been enjoying now that I've got a PS5. Again, load times are very minimal. When it used to be a 2 or 3 minute wait, if you did what's called the fragile jump, which is its form of fast travel, basically it took 2 or 3 minutes for you to go from location to location. PS5 version, less than a minute, if that. So yeah, that's the system itself. It is so seamlessly. Also, like that, loading up the PlayStation Store on the PlayStation 4 was arduous, to the point where I avoided doing it on the PlayStation 4. I'd buy all my games on the PC if I wanted to buy a game on the PSN network, because it took so long on the console itself. But with the PS5, it's really is that instant. Yeah, it really is that instant. It's scarily quick, to be completely honest with you. Ooh, what's this? Roller Champions. Might have to check that out afterwards. I think these are free to play games that you can check out and some paid ones there. But yeah, so that's the PlayStation 5 itself. The other thing I want to talk about, obviously graphically everything is much better. I mean, Death Stranding, for crying out loud, the lighting, you can actually see part of the lighting there as a what's the word, as a comparison, as like a, anyway. So when you're using the OLED deck, the lighting on the OLED deck, the lighting on Sam's outfit, I was going to say Norman Reedus' outfit, I mean it is Norman Reedus, but on the outfit he wears, like he wears reflective or light up, what's it called, cuffs, I suppose, much like you would if you were riding a cycle and delivering stuff, which is kind of a nod to the fact he's a delivery man, basically. But there's so much punch to it, it's so fluid. Every game that I've played, so I played some Miles Morales, and I actually got a little bit sick, I would say. It felt really weird playing it in 60 FPS, because up until this point I'm playing the PS4 version that's not in 60. Death Stranding runs at a solid 60 and looks beautiful. I say all this, I said at the beginning that this is kind of part of the parcel when it comes to the modern consoles, but everything just moves and is so smooth. It's you know, it's unbelievable. But the next thing I want to speak about is the DualSense controller. I keep going to call it the DualShock 5 controller, which is, I mean, yes, technically, but this is the DualSense controller. So from the PlayStation, so ever since the DualShock 1 controller to the DualShock 3 controller of the PS3, they stayed very similar. The PS4 was a little bit of a, for me the PS4 controller, the DualShock 4 controller, was a optimization of everything. They made one of the best controllers I think it has ever been made. I think the PS4 controller is such a comfy, lovely controller to use. One of my favorites personally. Loved it to bits. The PS5, I think, or the DualSense controller, I think is the next step up. It's what Sony needed to do when it came to the controller. They needed a controller that was really next gen. They couldn't just iterate on the DualShock's design. They went back to the drawing board and produced this thing. By God, it takes a bit of getting used to. So it has adaptive triggers and it has a myriad of vibrators inside it that give you such weird haptic feedback. I say weird in that I've never felt haptic feedback like this before. It's basically HD Rumble on the Switch, but in overdrive, because if you didn't know, it has the same motors inside of it. It's the same company that provide the motors for the DualSense controller as they did for the Switch's Joy-Con controllers. It's also the same company that provide the motor for the modern iPhones that have the linear vibrating motor inside there. So there's a bit of trivia for you. So yeah, the vibration, like you can literally, I was playing Death Stranding earlier and I was walking across a surface. I could literally feel like I was walking across that particular surface, like it was a gravel kind of thing. The adaptive triggers are weird the first time you feel them, but when you begin to feel why they're like that, it's fantastic. And also the actuation points of the triggers change depending on what you're... So in Death Stranding, one weapon you could literally tap, like barely tap one of the triggers and it'll fire off a shot of the weapon you're using, whereas some require you to depress all the way down. They are really weird. You can turn them off in games, but I think they really do immerse you even more. And just the feel of the controller, it melts in your hand. It's got a nice like hatching feeling on the back. It is a wonderfully robust. The triggers are gorgeous. The L1 and R1 are just a treat to use, to be honest with you. The triggers on the back, it really is the next evolution of the, you know, the DualShock controller, if you will, and where they need to go. Inbuilt mic on it, which, you know, it's taken a while for a company to actually finally put an inbuilt mic on there, which means you've got everything you need to play because of course you can use that mic in online gaming, multiplayer gaming, to talk to your teammates and what have you. So I think it really is a fantastic controller, and hats off to Sony for that one. Yes, I'm gushing about the PlayStation 5 right now, but I really do think it deserves some of the praise. I will say, when it comes to the PlayStation 5 sort of ecosystem, when it comes to games and the way Sony are going about things, aren't necessarily the best right now, but they are really trying to play catch up with Xbox. Xbox are basically, Microsoft are just speaking with their money at the moment, and Microsoft have a lot of money. You have to remember that Sony, only a few years ago, were actually in quite a bit of trouble. The PlayStation component of Sony was the only component making money for a long time. So you have to bear that in mind. So Sony is still playing catch up with Microsoft, and as a result of that, you know, there's quite a few games in the pipeline. Yeah, Forbidden West 2. Horizon 2, Forbidden West has just come out, and there are some games in the pipeline. It's a bit, you know, we don't know when they're going to come out, but hopefully they'll come out within this year. And I know, you know, the thing that affects the whole world has also affected many games development. But at the same token, the games that I do have for the PlayStation 5 currently are fantastic, will tie me over, and then probably the next game I'm going to buy is probably Forbidden West, and go from there, basically. But hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. Bit of a different video, different angle, what have you. Yeah, but hopefully you enjoyed this kind of different video. Until next time, guys, please take care, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day. Ta-ra.